Detroit is different. Detroit is different. I can feel it. Detroit is different.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And I'm welcoming back a guest that's deep into, we always talking about culture and connected to culture. And you need to check the archives when we first had an interview where you get like so much in depth about a taste and time in Detroit history where a lot of the arts was coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And it still carries on. Mr. Gary Anderson from Plowshares, how are you?
Fine. How are you? Thank you, Kyrie.
Good. Yeah, you was reaching out and it took a second, but I'm like, all right, we got to definitely welcome you back in. And you definitely have a perspective about what's happening really in 2026 and how that relates to theater. Just before the show, like before, obviously, you know, you have some conversations with people and you were opening up really about the historic time that 2026 is as America will be celebrating the 250.
Right.
So it's like, which Lord knows, this is a interesting time in American history, as all time is interesting, especially from the Black experience and lens, but especially now.
Right.
And in that connection, culture has been one of the tools that has been a way of expression.
Right.
That expression of the pains, the expression of the joys, the expression of the talents and skill sets, and so much more in theater as a gateway and what it has meant to so many. As theater has been a conduit for a lot of people that have traveled through many walks of life. Mm-hmm. Some of them just staying in theater, but even so much more.
That's true.
You know, so 2026 in Plowshares, what's happening?
Well, there's a lot, actually. Let me just take a step back and explain to you why 2026 is so significant.
Please do.
So, 100 years ago, Black folks were in a situation not dissimilar to what we find ourselves in right now.
1926. Ain't that something?
Right. So you have a reconstituted Ku Klux Klan that is sweeping the nation. 1/3 of Congress at this point actually are card-carrying members of the KKK. You have, in fact, the way in which many whites become successful in business is by association with that organization or organizations like it, like the White Citizens Councils and other racist organizations, as well as you find Blacks being victimized by lynchings, which has been fully documented, discrimination in regards to economics. Prior to 1926, you have in 21, you have the Tulsa, Oklahoma race massacre. So you see what I'm talking about. There's a whole host of activities. So when you talk about over 300,000 Black women losing their jobs within this year, and they just now announced a reclassification of certain degrees as not professional, which means that the federal government can take away loans and grant opportunities for people who pursue them. And those, oddly enough, seem to be the same degrees that many Black people, primarily Black women, apply for and have successfully achieved in. You start looking at it and seeing that things are, that the deliberate nature of erasure, of assault on us in regards to the opportunities that we have economically, they seem to resonate with the exact same situations that were existed in 1926. And so in that year, you had the scholar and activist W.E.B. Du Bois, who was at that time the editor for Crisis magazine for the NAACP, write an essay that where he looked at the circumstances socially for Black people for advancement. And he posited that one of the important tools we needed to establish was our footprint and our stability in cultural activities. And in this essay specifically, he called for the formation of Black theaters all across the nation. Now, you're probably going to say 1926, wasn't there black theater companies somewhere where there was black folks? There may have been companies in an unprofessional, like a non-professional capacity that existed. But in many cases, those were dramatic clubs or associations that did plays that were not necessarily written by African Americans. And so they might, on occasion, do a Shakespeare play or do another play by another white author. But they were not in the business of creating black talent or providing a home, an opportunity for the development of black creatives. And so what Du Bois was calling for, and this is, you need to understand this because this is how critical it is. People act like radicalism only started in the 60s, and it really actually precedes that time period. In the essay, he called for the formation of black theaters that would be for us, by us, about us, and near us. That was the first time that phrasing had ever been written down and presented for the general public.
Mm-hmm.
And what he meant by that is by for us, meaning that the works that are conducted and developed, presented by that theater, had to primarily focus on serving a black audience. Mm-hmm. When he said by us, that meant that everybody involved, from the in front of the footlights as well as behind, had to be black. And they had to be black by, as he phrased it, from birth and continual association. About us, meaning that the stories are taken from our lives, our experience, our point of view, our perspectives. Now, we understand black folks are a monolith, are not a monolith, and so that they can think of so many different perspectives and circumstances, and that's understood. But that the voice of this point of view has been articulated by a black person who understands the circumstances of what it means to be black in this country, mm-hmm. and not necessarily somebody who's parroting the opinions or attitudes of someone else. And the fourth one, near us, which is the one that we have a tendency to forget about, meaning that he thought that our institutions would be best served being rooted in the communities where we live. Mm. That it's just like that church on the corner that's in your neighborhood. That's an institution that you seek support from and it seeks support from you. Or the barbershop where you hold court every Saturday, right? Right? It's those kind of institutions. And he saw the development of black theaters in these communities as a way of creating another institution that would help anchor black life, black culture, black history, and black identity.
Love how you broke that down, and also that clearly hits my mind. I mean, generation that I'm in. So, mm-hmm. you know, for us, by us, that's FUBU.
Right.
You know, I've met Damon John and didn't even think to like ask about the roots kind of connecting to something, but about us and near us, along with that, it centers a focus in a different level of concentration of connecting to our community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when you eliminate about us and you eliminate near us, mm-hmm. that means that the first two can be corrupted. Mm. You can bring somebody else's story. I can do a black version of Cinderella, which is a fine project if that's what you want to do. But I would prefer doing a fairy tale based in our culture from an imagination of a black actor, director, mm-hmm. designer, playwright, and not try to ape something that has been created in another culture. Yeah. Because their values come along with that. And you have to be careful mm-hmm. that you don't adopt something that is could be detrimental to your way of life and the message that you're trying to get across.
Yeah. So a Nazi the Spider.
Yes.
Versus, what's that, Three Little Bears or something.
Exactly,
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, so definitely. And as you build this, you know, I want to kind of slide back for people that can get that understanding of even Plowshares. Right. And how many seasons Plowshares has been along, which I tip my hat to the consistency and the commitment of what this is, of what you've delivered to the fabric of so much in Detroit culture. And you've worked with I mean, it's kind of like I'm on episode 500. I imagine you can't even think about how many actors, actresses you've worked with over time, but how many seasons, Plowshares, and what has been one of those things that's really kept you grounded and moving forward with this work?
Well, this will be our 36th season.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you. What's kept us grounded is the understanding that we are here to serve. I mean, when you really think about it, artists are servants to the community in a way because what we create is not really for our own selfish purposes. It's actually a gift that we give to a community, to a neighborhood, to an audience, so that they can hear a story, reflect on a message, incorporate or internalize an idea that can have an impact on them. It's not enough for us to do this just simply for the sake of the artist being able to create. That's a very Eurocentric approach, where you have the concept that art is for art's sake, meaning that I could create something, I slap it on a wall or put it on a pedestal. We awarded awards and recognition, and we think that's wonderful, but does it sing to our hearts? Does it really stimulate our minds with new thoughts? And an Afrocentric perspective of art, whether it's a painting or a cane that some elder uses, to a song, is really there to stimulate us with a message. It's kind of like I always connected to my great grandmother, who would whisper things in my ears that she knew I needed to hear. And she wasn't an aggressive woman. And the arts are like that. We can sit and enjoy a story, but a play that's being presented for us, we can see a painting or hear a song, but when we hit that message, that important message, it reveals something to us that we may not have known we needed to hear. And that's the importance of why Plowshares has existed for this long. That's the thing that keeps me motivated. That's the important job I feel we need to do this year in 2026, because we have this anniversary and it should inspire us to remind both the artists that are involved with us and the audience that we serve of really what we're here for. Specifically now because Black culture has been attacked since January of this year in a real aggressive and deliberate manner.
Okay. And in this journey of those seasons, 36 seasons, you've worked with countless directors, writers, actors, actresses, like I said, but even to the sound design, set design, just many people like bringing these works of art to life to connect and really build with that audience. As you've seen this over time, and it's different waves of what people connect to and what bonds they make, what have you been observant of more recently, especially like what's happening politically and socially, as far as how people are responding to theater right now, and what are the stories that are really grabbing those hearts and minds that you speak to?
I think the challenge is twofold. One of the things that we have not done, just to start off from there, following the pandemic, is really address what an assault that experience was on us, how it isolated us in many ways, and it made us disassociate or find an inability to connect, the sense of belonging that people are talking about, this whole epidemic of loneliness that number of people say is men are suffering from. Those are all the ramifications of, in many cases, what was going down in the pandemic. When you are made aware of the fact that everything was was pretty much moved out of the way, and we could see how really brutal this economy is in regards to the people who suffered the most and the people who benefited the most from the inequities. That's what really energized the Black Lives Matter movement. We were aware, we were conscious of the fact that things were not right, and we wanted to address them. But the American people have a tendency to be, they have chronic amnesia. And what I mean by that, in many ways, we forget what we remember. And in some cases, we do that just to get by. So when we came out of the pandemic and we were trying to get back to normal, we should have realized that normal wasn't working for everybody.
Yeah.
And so we should have actually redoubled our efforts to fix what was wrong, which is, again, if you look at the political scheme, has kind of created this backlash that we find. There were some efforts to try to create a more equitable, more just society. And those are the very ones that have been assaulted by this regime since January of 2025. That's why you have the large amount of Black women who were unemployed, who had a job a year ago this time. When you look at the fact that the unemployment rate of Black people in this country is now close to 7.5%, when it was 6% a summer ago. Those are the challenges that we find, and these things aren't happening by accident; they're happening by design. And like Du Bois, I think it's critical for us to remember that we have a way of communicating the ways that we can connect and the ways we can come together around ideas that can help us fix these problems. And we have to do that through the arts. Now, I know a lot of people think that the arts are a leisure, soft kind of environment, but they have power to communicate that many other forms that or power structures that we have in the country don't work as effectively.
I definitely agree with that in many ways. Even so much of this forum that's become more popular in podcasting and what the connections made here. But one of the largest, I think, connections where art impacts people personally that moves to social shifts are like in different waves. So we look at here in Motown itself, we look at Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" album.
Right. Exactly. That's a perfect example.
And Berry Gordy did not want to release that album for years. So Marvin was performing the songs from What's Going On at Baker's Keyboard Lounge, like almost for you could catch him there often, just performing the songs, Mercy, Mercy Me and What's Going On. And it took the Beatles creating the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club album that it was like, oh, okay, I guess people want music that's more socially conscious.
Right.
Marvin Gaye is one of our, at that time, like he's a star on Motown, but not the largest star on Motown. But all right, since he's not going to create anything else, let's release this album.
Right.
And that album then inspires Richard Pryor to shift his voice, his comedic voice. That shifts and empowers more people to connect to things. And I mean, even if I'm wearing this, I've got soul, so that obviously impacts James Brown's music from being, and we love the Godfather of Soul, but now he takes on
Aretha
what
too.
that is, Aretha Franklin, Natural Looks, Nina Simone's, like it creates a consciousness through culture where everything just starts shifting.
Yes.
From that moment in time, that it's that connection. Because before then, I mean, we look at the Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. It was the the Motown. What is it? The Sound of Young America, which is basically a Black artist that comfortably more so like a white parent would buy that album for their son or their daughter and connect to this. what's going on is a whole. I mean, even you know, the letter he has about the album in the album notes. It's like, this is different.
Right. You have to be brave to make those kind of statements, and then make them in forms that I think are designed for commercial purposes. And the fact that Barry couldn't see it until someone else did it.
Yeah.
It's not a, besmirchment on him. It was just, but it is clear that we don't always look at how the creative arts are an avenue where we can have transformative moments. We can inspire people to think differently and to move in different directions. And you're right. Your chronicling of how that album influenced somebody else to do something different, who influenced someone else to do something different. That's the ripple. That's the domino effect of what this whole use of creative talent is about. And so that's part of what Plowshares is going to be doing this year. For the last 2 years, we've commissioned a writer. We're doing a program called Black Theater Latin Roots. We're trying to expand the canon of Black theater and to not just tell stories in the continental United States. We're looking at ways in which we can expand into the other parts of the country, of the planet, where the diaspora, the African diaspora exists.
Yeah.
And so we're focusing primarily on the Afro-Latin experience. And so the first play we're doing in this series, we're going to be doing the world premiere of in June of 26. It's called Roberto Clemente, a Diamond Within. And it's going to be looking at the life of the Pittsburgh Pirate baseball player, Roberto Clemente. Now, right off the bat, people who know baseball know about him, but they know about his stats.
Yeah, as an activist. And then shout out to the Roberto Clemente Recreation Center on Bagley. One of Afro-Latino, like a activist in so many ways of looking to empower his people, and sadly and tragic, in his loss before time, but definitely one hell of an athlete. But in the same scope of what we would look at as you talk about, like in that time, like a Muhammad Ali, as far as the role he played with advocating for people and giving back to the people.
Right. I mean, here was a guy in the early part of his professional career realized that when the Pittsburgh Pirates would go on away games, so they'd take a bus, right? And they'd go into communities where Black and Latin players weren't always welcomed. And so that meant that the white folks got to go into town, sit at a nice restaurant, have a fine, warm meal, but they would bring back cold sandwiches to the Black and the Latin players.
Yeah.
And Clemente got tired of this. And so he told his fellow teammates, he said, look, we're not going to eat that. They're going to have to treat us as good as they treat the white players on this team. And if you want to have opposition to this idea, you're going to have to fight me. And so they boycotted. Let's say you have a doubleheader. They would play 2 games in the span of 48 hours, and sometimes they wouldn't eat anything prior to having left Pittsburgh. So that meant that they weren't at their peak performance level, which meant that they had the potential of losing those games.
Yes.
And it took Branch Rickey, who was the general manager at that time of the Pittsburgh Pirates, it took him understanding that he had to do something about that.
Yeah.
And so what they eventually ended up doing is they ended up getting Clemente a Cadillac. They bought him a car. They gave him the keys. And he would take the Black and Latin players to restaurants where they could get served. But the fact that they wouldn't think about doing that to give these gentlemen, we understand that America has had sections of it that are extremely racist. We understand that not every part of this country is welcoming to people of color. I got that. But that doesn't mean that you have to perpetuate that dehumanization in an institution I'm supposed to be a part of. If I'm a team, then we have a team effort towards serving all of us. And that was what he was fighting for. And so that's actually documented in the play. The fact that he was an activist in baseball and outside.
Very much so.
He was one of the few Afro-Latino players at that time who acknowledged both his African heritage and his Latin heritage. So that's how we're doing this. One of the ways we're reflecting those messages of Du Bois is through the works that we're developing. We're also going to be doing a series of stage readings over time that are going to be focusing on topics of importance that are in the general conversation right now that also have an impact on Black culture.
Okay, a stage reading. What's a stage reading?
Stage reading is you have a play, you get a group of actors, and they can stand behind music stands with the script right there, and they actually will read the play as if they're performing it for an audience.
So it's almost like as an audience getting a peek into like what a initial rehearsal or table read would be for actors or something.
It's a little different than table read. Table reads everybody sitting, but is everybody standing?
Yeah.
And they're standing in front of these music stands and they're reading to the audience. Now, there have been rehearsals prior to the performance of a stage reading. So there is that. But the idea is, you're right. We give the same emotional commitment to these roles that we would if we were playing them on stage. We just don't have the costumes, don't have the set
design,
light, all of that. Yeah. It's just bare bones. Yeah, it's all acting. It's all storytelling, really. That's really what it is. And so you focus on doing your level best to get the audience to buy into what you're saying so that they can help envision what they actually are hearing.
Which actually, this reminds me so much of a Plowshares play and my connection with Plowshares. Shout out to my cousin, Studio Lumumba. And he was working with Plowshares at one point in time where Plowshares was doing a run of plays in the it was a theater inside the Henry Ford Museum estate. And I forgot even the name of the play, but it was a play about a Black woman, like CEO executive, and a Black woman that worked like as a building engineer or janitor. And they get stuck. It was called Sisters. Okay, they were like stuck in the elevator.
Yeah.
And then they're just sharing stories of different parts of life and how it kind of combines. It's like a way better example of that. I ain't even gonna compare it because that's gonna mess people up. All right. It was a interesting to just see two actresses bring to life a whole experience in that play.
Right. Because the whole thing is these were two women from different economic levels in life who may have seen one another, but not really had exchanged any words or even engaged one another other than this circumstance when they get caught in this elevator. And they're forced to deal with one another because they're trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
And they both have things they're trying to get to. And so it's the circumstances of that elevator being locked and not being able to be moved that force them to actually engage. And the power of that provides them with an opportunity to actually listen and see one another as the humans that they actually are. And that's one of the things that I take a lot of pride in regards to the history of this company, because we try to elevate a whole host of things. Again, looking at the fact that Black people are not a monolith, that we come in many different hues and different forms in regards to where we come from, but there is a cultural connection that we can all get to because of certain common experiences that we all have had. And that's the power of theater. That's the power of the arts, of being able to help us look in the eyes of somebody who we may not see any connection with and realize their humanity, recognize that.
And also the vehicle itself is definitely I'm more of a television movie person,
We
but
all
it's
are,
also
brother.
interesting
Yeah.
that like now just in media, it's like I got all these got all these subscriptions. It's like I got everything. And then I look to watch something, and then it's just like, man, it's like nothing that I'm finding that has those connections.
Right.
Or it'll be like it'll be something every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
And hence that's why I think, though it was a film,
Right.
a lot of like the play out of where people connected with Sinners was very much more theatrical. Like it
Yes.
felt more in play production,
Mm-hmm.
though it is obviously a film and it's
Right.
graphic design and all of that stuff. But the development of the characters
Mm-hmm.
definitely had that. And it's been like a lean into that I've seen that a lot of directors are even doing, creating as now I'm getting a little technical, but like they're using like pan shots where almost like the camera's continually on. The last piece with rest in peace Chadwick Boseman was definitely shot in that same perspective.
Can I got a take on Ryan Coogler and his work.
Okay.
That I'd love to share with you. And
Please do.
This will tie back into the subject about what Plowshares is doing. I think Ryan Coogler is our most creative, imaginative, daring filmmaker. And when you think about it, he does what he does in primarily what Hollywood sees as commercially successful films. I mean, aside from Fruitvale, which was never intended to be a blockbuster.
Yeah.
But it was a powerful personal piece that he needed to get out there.
That's a heavy one. It's hard to even, for me.
It is.
That's a heavy one.
Yeah. But that work is in line with everything else he's done.
Yes.
His Black Panther, the first one with Chadwick, is a story where the hero is not fully realized until the latter part of that story. And what I mean by that is when T'Challa goes off to find Inoya, who has been captured by the Boko Haram, basically, right? He's not saving her so he can save all these women who've been captured to become sex slaves. He's trying to pick up his girlfriend so she can come back to his coronation. So his actions are extremely selfish. And in fact, he doesn't come to realize his responsibility as a leader until he's confronted with his cousin who wants to use the talents and resources of Wakanda to achieve a Black dominant world, a Black planet. But he wants to do it in a much more aggressive, more violent, and destructive manner. Black Panther is the only story of where the hero takes up the cause of the villain at the end, because T'Challa decides that they have hidden themselves. They've refused to acknowledge who and what they are to the world. And at the end of that film, not only is he telling the world who they really are, but he's also using those resources to have impact in Black communities all across the planet.
Yes.
That's taking the essence of what Killmonger wanted to achieve, but taking it from an approach where he removes it of the violence.
And also, man,
so you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That the message of that film is that Killmonger's objective wasn't wrong. It was his methods.
And this is also where, like, I guess I love these discussions.
Yeah.
Kari loves talking. Yeah. But you also have to conceptualize, as many people after it came out, a lot of people said, yo, I'm a Killmonger.
Right.
And the lens in which, I guess, is starting with where this discussion really started, the lens in which American society puts us.
Yes.
Puts us in a framework where our understanding of what will be respected and honored is through a violent act itself. So it's like we've been conditioned in this society to be this way. Hence, you could easily see if Killmonger was in Wakanda, he would possibly submit and feel the same way as T'Challa in the first place. And if T'Challa was in America,
right,
he would have this lens too.
Right, exactly.
So like, and I guess that even kind of plays even in the Sinners film a little bit in the same way.
You're going exactly where I was going to go. Go ahead.
Because as the smoking stack, and they're having this discussion,
right,
and you have it's like we're holding on to a space and place that has never truly honored us and allowed for us to be in a space where we're accepted as equal and given the opportunities that we pursue.
Right.
In this space, in this form, you know, it's a horror. So it's like as vampire,
right,
it's all even. Hey, come on here, and this is really where we can be where we need to be.
Well, there's a couple of important messages that Coogler has embedded in Sinners, and because it's an original creation of his, he's had much more control over how the story lays out. So first off, the messages that he has about Black economic ownership and control run throughout the entire film.
Very much so.
There's a reason why there's that scene where Smoke and Stack look at the money that they've earned that night, and they see how much of it is actually been paid off with plantation script, you know, those wooden coins and that fake money. That was actually a form of currency that existed
in that time.
You know, following the end of the Civil War, going into Reconstruction. One of the ways that they kept Black people enslaved to certain landowners was that the land you do sharecropping, right?
And I was just about to go, we've talked about this before, like in sharecropping itself, and I mean, it definitely has a strong tie to Detroit because that's why so many people was like, damn this, because it's basically let's just even, I'll take it a step further, where your parents were enslaved is now a place where you work, and there and now you're working and expecting, like, you know, let's say, like, you know, you give 100 apples, and of the 100 apples they say, oh, only 3 of these we can buy.
Right. But more so than that, when they do purchase something from you,
it's the credit.
They give it to you in this plantation script that is only good at the store the landowner controls. And everything is elevated, you know, inflated, so that you need much more of the script than what you earned to actually achieve it. So here these people have bought into this notion that this has value because it has value where I shop, which is the only place I shop is on Master's land. Yeah. And then so when I come to this juke joint and I'm trying to pay my way, I still think that has value. Yeah. And Smoke and Stack realize it doesn't. And so that's going to have an impact on their profitability. Yeah. The other thing that's really important, the other message that he gets out in that film that's really subtly played, is that when a church boy, choir boy, right, begins to sing his song, Sammy, Sammy, when he unleashes that song, and you see the power of it, and it evokes not only the future, but also connects us to the past, and it connects us to other people of color who have been influenced by African traditions, musically, culturally, socially. You see how the entire fabric of how much Black people have really done in the formation of what we call the American culture. Yes. But you also see how our talents now are connected to our talents in the future. And he did that because he needed you to understand the power of art and culture and music in that case, because our music has that kind of larger context, because the vampires don't really become aware of Sammy until they hear that song. Yeah. That's when they understand he has power that they want.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, especially like it's in the interview the other day, shout out to Kier and talking about blues, but I love blues, and anybody that knows, and I need to probably see her soon too. Like, I love Thornetta. and so many others. The
Mhm.
Marsha Music interview I just had, where she was sharing the stories of her father recording a lot of John Lee Hooker's early works here in the 50s and things like that. And just the premise of like American blues building the foundation of really American music itself. You know what I'm saying? And you can get into the roots of how and where and like how it tracks and things like that. But yeah, Ryan Coogler went very deep into like the delta of the Mississippi blues and what that connects to and how it connects. Yeah, it's
but in both of those films, he's making a point that our individual success is not complete unless we're sharing the wealth with the community.
Yeah.
In both of those films, in both Black Panther and in Sitters, that he is actually expressing something that is integral to an Afrocentric perspective on how we live.
And very much so. I mean, Coogler's whole, the way he speaks, the way he walks and talks. I mean, that's the other thing. He's like very, very Bay Area. You know what I'm saying? Never. It wouldn't hit you.
He's not code switching.
Yeah, it's like it would hit you. You would never think that like, oh, this is a multi-million-dollar film director. You would not think that at all. You know what I'm saying? And no offense to the people that it's like, yeah, that makes sense. But that's the other arc of it in that same creativity and putting these stories together and building those relationships.
Right.
And as you talk about those relationships, which brings me to you. This year, I don't know if you mentioned one of the writers. Who are some of the actors, actresses, directors? Who do you see working with in 2026?
I think there's a number of them that are local. I can't really, to be fair,
get any names out now. I got you.
That's coming out in press releases coming soon. But I can tell you the pieces that we're going to be doing readings of.
Okay, please.
So we're going to be doing a reading of a wonderful comedy called Jaja's African Hair Braiding. It's set in New York.
Okay,
and it's about an African hair braiding salon.
Okay,
but it's a full-length comedy. But at the core of it is a story about Black immigration issues and economic power. There's a young girl in the story who is, I guess she would be classified as a dreamer. She was brought here as a young child by her parents. They came in through means not directly connected to the immigration system. And she's been living here. She's now of college age and she can't go to college because she doesn't have legal status. And so the play kind of deals with the community of women who are who do the hair braiding, the various stories they have in regards to coming here, as well as to their clients and how they connect. And then there's at the center of this younger girl who is the daughter of the woman who owns the salon. Another play we're going to be doing a reading of is a piece called Weathering. And it's another comedy we're very happy about that deals with Black maternal health issues. We in this country have a real crisis in regards to Black women and their ability to survive giving birth. And it is not being addressed. And this play brings that issue up, but it brings it in a nurturing and humorous manner, in a point that you really will not be depressed. You'll actually be uplifted by the circumstances that are presented in this story. A young mother has lost her child, and she's trying to deal with that. And she and her husband are trying to deal with it. And she gets surrounded by this community of women who seek to help her heal in real and deep ways, so that the loss is not ignored or erased, but that it is contextualized. And the point of it is to bring attention to the real crisis that we have, where Black women are 3 times more likely to die or lose the child or both in childbirth in this country and not have it addressed by our medical system. That's a fact that you need to understand this, because this shocked the hell out of me. Age, economic status, education doesn't matter. all those that are usually factors in the health of anybody in this country, you can be, and this has happened, somebody as affluent and educated as Serena Williams, or somebody who is far less fortunate in the society, and to still have the same statistics impact you when you're looking to give birth to a child. And you are Black. You happen to be a Black woman.
Yeah.
That's just a reality that our medical system should have been able to bring us attention to. And when you realize that this year, the Trump administration removed $42 million that was earmarked for studying this issue, and the excuse they give is that there's no profit value in that research.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before with Detroit is Different, even the U of M professor, Dr. Lovejoy, when we were connecting, and then him leaving, and I was like, I think you need this medical apartheid book more than I need it. And that definitely explores so much of that, especially what's paid attention to in these spaces and places where Black women are just facing different realities of not being heard, not being seen, not being cared for in many medical practices for many reasons. And then like the seen biases, a lot of work, even kind of what New Detroit was doing, and just led the preconceived notions of like quote unquote, I guess the pain threshold and the expectation of what a Black woman and Black bodies can deal with versus other counterparts. Because I mean, I guess with Black men, we're just usually not even interacting a lot of times with medical systems.
Well, those stereotypes go as far back as to slavery.
Yes.
That's where they started.
I mean, it's yes, most definitely.
The fact that a Black body could endure more, could sustain more injury, could take longer, if you had them out in the field under a hot sun, any of the more adverse conditions that we were supposedly better prepared to handle that, which was just ridiculous.
And I mean, just really, this is really graphic, and I don't even know how YouTube is gonna present or put this or whatever, but it just needs to be said. I remember I was at an event for one of my homies' birthdays, and just talking about like the breeding of the Black body had a whole lot to do with the sexual assault of Black women combined with the physical abuse, like day after day after day, because it's like we want to see what they can go through.
Yes.
And Black men. So it's like as horses or cows, or like we're gonna want them to be strong as ever. And in the same way that that they say, like, if an alcoholic is in your family, that can be in your DNA for like 4 generations after. So when we think of the horrors of so many of the experiences we dealt with from the Mayafa, before we even get to a plantation, and then on the plantation, I can't even imagine the stuff in the DNA that's like here, that we carry, and hence a lot of the spaces and expression to pour into something that can be fruitful through culture, or can acknowledge a lot of this in a constructive way. That's a lot of what pours into so much of who we are as well.
Yeah, and so the plays that we're doing readings of this year, along with the world premiere that we're going to do of the Roberto Clemente piece, are really designed to remind us of the circumstances that we actually deal with. And it's not just to remind us to depress us, but to remind us to actually call us to action. The whole point of our 2026 programming is to galvanize Black people around a purpose, which is to improve our circumstances. I'm very concerned about the challenges that we're going through now. And I'm very concerned because I have children and I seek at one time to eventually have grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and I don't want my grandchildren and great-grandchildren to be in a circumstance that's not dissimilar from what my grandparents and my great-grandparents endured.
As you said, it's been 100 years, and
Right.
some of the social realities that
Yes.
you have found in 1926 are looking to manifest so much more in 2026.
Yes. I mean, history doesn't, what was it? Mark Twain said that history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And the resonance of that rhyming is very clear to me. So what I'm doing as an artist and through the institution of Plowshares Theater is to begin doing, making people aware of that, so the messaging from our work can get out and people understand they need to be aware of this too.
So in this same space, you having this connection and bond with the play and the theater, but also you've been in a business position with this too. How have you found, I guess, a lot of the actors, actresses, the writers, the directors, the producers, like the people that you work with in this space of theater? How are they approaching a lot of what's happening at this time? What are they inspired and moving forward to do and build those connections? How is your tribe?
Well, I think the tribe I'm a part of it through the theater is one that I think is feeling assaulted in a lot of ways. And what I mean by that is I was telling somebody this just yesterday. The opportunities that existed in the state of Michigan as a young Black man of 28 when I started Plowshares don't exist today for a young Black man of 28.
Yeah.
And in that 35-year time period, what we've lost have been the parts of our arts and cultural community that really helped elevate people, who gave them an opportunity if they had an idea and the passion to put something forward. They were able to make that happen. Young people today look around themselves and they see that what they've got is a very limited, very constrained list of opportunities. And so they can do one of two things. They can either pursue other avenues or they can leave. And a number of them, and I've had conversations with a number of people in their 20s who are at the point where I was when I was 20, in my 20s. This is a real quandary for them. The number of jobs they could get to work in this field are much less than they were at that time. The abilities for them to seek money that could help them build something, like the resources we were able to access to start Plowshares, came partially from our own pockets, but there were a number of grants that were available, not just through arts and culture organizations, but like through Buff, through other nonprofits that saw the benefit in having a cultural community that was diverse and that was equitable, that actually gave voice to perspectives that wouldn't necessarily come out of mainstream organizations. And that really doesn't exist at the level it was at that time. And I think, quite frankly, that's one of the things that we're trying to do. We have another program, and I'll be very brief with it because I don't want to take up all your time. I've started an initiative. I've been very fortunate to receive funding from the Gilbert Family Foundation. We're getting $200,000 from them for the next 2 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. To fund an initiative that we call the Plowshares Leadership Fellows. I'm going to be hiring 4 young people in the beginning of 2026. Again, connecting to everything I've been saying to you up to this point, and giving them an opportunity to work with the company and learn the craft of art administration, but not just learning in the concept, okay, well, you go do this job. I want to help give them an opportunity to become leaders, I'm now at the latter part of what I see as my career in the leadership of Plowshares. And I think over the next 5 years, I need to hand the keys over to another generation.
Yeah.
And that generation needs to be prepared and understand why the mission of the organization is what it is and why it needs to be sustained, and also provide them with an opportunity to become leaders for the future. I really do believe that Black people need to find ways of mentoring the next generation in a way that we haven't before. And so I'm very, very, very happy that the Gilbert Family Foundation has invested in this idea, and we'll see how it goes, because it's a 3-year initiative. But the point of it is designed on really providing the opportunity for young Black artists here to think seriously about their desire, their capacity to be leaders for the future, and build the programming around helping them get there.
All right.
That didn't exist when I was in my 20s. Nothing like that existed.
So I definitely applaud that. And nothing like that existed, but there were other institutions that you saw moving. You know, I mean, we're looking at like a active broadside press. We're looking at Martha Jean the Queen. We're looking at you know, and the Michigan Chronicle is still here, and Michigan Citizen. But even that, the way that those papers interacted and engaged with community, just different. The Black Yellow Pages, you know what I'm saying?
Well, for me, it was Harmony Park Playhouse.
Okay.
It was a Black theater company run by a Black woman, Maggie Porter, where she did work in a small space that used to be a barbershop at the bottom of the Madison Lennox Hotel. She educated me in ways that I'd never got in my classes at Wayne State in the theater department.
Interesting.
And it wasn't a formal structure like what I'm building, but it was an education that the knowledge of which, the wisdom of which I carry with me today.
That's deep.
And so the idea is to create something similar, but make it more formalized so that I can help prepare the next generation. Detroit's going to need Black leaders, men and women, who see the importance of us always front-loading Black culture and doing it in a sense to help remind Black folks of who they have been and who they are capable of being. At the same time, educating other communities as to who we really are and fighting against the distortions that have been created to continue to denigrate us. So that's the two-pronged approach that this initiative is designed to doing. Building for us a future where we have people strong enough to withstand the circumstances that we're going through now. I keep telling people that the experiences of my life have built me for this moment that we are in right now. And I'm not the only one. There are others that I know of, you and others, who have been built for this moment because of what we've endured up to this point. And I think that's why I don't fear the circumstances that we're in. I don't see those efforts succeeding in this country because they are up against something they have no concept of knowing how powerful it is. We just need to do the job of reminding people of their power.
Well, first off, humbled to be in that group per se. I'm glad that you and many others do support Detroit is Different as a space and place to share these stories and make these connections and bonds. I definitely had this question that I got to ask. So in this space now, because I know it's been a lot of times just because you know like so much of it, as you think to yourself, is that baton passing? Do you see yourself moving into more of a writing, a directing capacity? Where's gonna be your creative outlet?
Well, I'm a director now, and so I will be a director until I can't direct no more.
Okay,
right. I'll just be real honest with you about that. I might write, but that's not really what I'm looking at. I'm looking at being I might go back to, but teaching in a way that is connected to sustaining Plowshares.
Okay.
So the idea would be, in the span of 3 years, if we develop a faculty, quote unquote, for the Plowshares Leadership Fellows, that faculty will be an ongoing effort of being there to mentor and assist that next generation as they emerge into the world. So I will continue to do that until I can't do that anymore.
Okay.
And the other effort, just so you know, is I'm really adamant on getting us a performance space. That has been a dream of mine since 1995, 1996.
Wow.
And I haven't, as of yet, achieved that. But I think that once we are able to secure these other aspects of the organization,
that'll be the next.
That will be, well, it'll be done in tandem. But once I no longer have the responsibility of doing programming, I'll be able to free up that time and focus on exclusively finding a space. And I just want you to understand, I'm not being selfish. I don't think Plowshares by itself needs a space. I think Detroit needs a center for Black performing arts. And what I mean by that is that it could be the home of several Black performing arts organizations that could all sit under one roof and present, so that it could be a premier place for music and dance as well as theater. It's what we used to have when we had Hastings Street. It's what we used to have when we had Paradise Valley.
Yeah.
It's what we used to have when we had the Avenue of Fashion. And we have found every one of those places have existed, and then they've been removed for whatever reason by economic impacts or by economic development activity. And what I'm looking to do is to build something that has permanence.
Okay.
So it's not just here for the moment, it's here for the centuries.
I love it. I love it. Which, as we get to a close, I usually have like classic questions, but right now I think because we've been talking so much into like story and script and things like that, as far as you gave some of what that is, but you also spoke to wanting the willingness to work with new writers and things like that. For that Detroit writer that has like a Detroit story, what's the connection? How do they get to you? How do they make that connection? And it may be through Plowshares, it may be through something else.
It may be through Plowshares, and we're always open to exploring writers. But you have to understand, and I'm going to be very clear about this, because I've had this question for the 35 years I've been around.
Every time, yeah.
I run a Black theater company, which means I serve a Black audience with Black interest material. I'm not interested in doing your adaptation of some white novel. I'm just not. I'm not interested in doing something that you think is reflecting the quality of some white author. Like, I don't want to do your Black version of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
There's somebody else that exists in this community
that can do that.
Who can do that. That's not me. I'm here to look at the authenticity, the beauty and complexity of being African in America. And the work that we do invest in that. And so the quality of your work will merit the connection that you can have with the company. But if you're somebody who's willing to, if you don't have a lot of experience or education in regards to the creation of work, and you're willing to learn, we're willing to provide some opportunities where you can learn. And so I will be more than happy to offer that.
Okay. All right. Now I can ask a classic question that I haven't hit you with. This is the alternate for the non-Detroiter, but it's always a fun one. Here we go. And it's odd. Spaceship parks right in front of your house.
Right.
E.T. hops out and says, "Take me to the most Detroit place you can take me." Where are you going?
For me, I'm taking them to Steve's Soul Food.
Oh man! Shout out to Steve and the family, you Northwestern folks. Okay,
Right?
okay.
I mean, that's just it.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Steve's one of those people I need to get him up here, but Steve be like, Steve is hilarious. But I need to really focus on getting him and Bert. It's a couple of the OGs in that world that I need.
There's a number of venues. If you're just talking about places, you've talked about Baker's. Baker's is a perfect place.
Yeah.
I mean, when you realize you live in a city with the oldest jazz club in the world.
Yeah.
In the world. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know how rich our culture is?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, like,
that's what I'm talking about. We
like
need to acknowledge.
that's Marvin Gaye was like performing what's going on. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like Marvin Gaye tonight. It was like, it was like Tuesday, and it's like, yeah, Marvin. Yeah,
go on up there, do what you do. Well, when you realize that Donna Ross was a secretary for Motown at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what all the glamour, the hair, the dresses and whatnot. No, sister was coming in and she was taking down messages.
Martha Reeves too. You know what I'm saying?
So we need to understand that the humble beginnings of many of the people who we see later on in life. And so anyway, I mean, I think that that's part of our job is to reflect the Detroitness of the culture here and the perspective of Detroit in the work that we do.
I love it. Thank you so much.
No, thank
you so much. All right. And then I got to always say this, even though I put it in the lower thirds and stuff. How do people connect to Plowshares?
They can go to our website, which is plowsharestheater.org. And theater is with the TRE. And you can sign up to get in our contact list. We will have the dates and times for the programming I just mentioned all up there by the 1st of December, so you'll be able to get all that information. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you all at the stage readings as well as at the premiere of Roberto Clemente. Even if you don't like baseball, you're gonna love this play.
Hilarious.
Because it's about Black people. Yeah, we got Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and Kirk Flood also in this play. Yeah,
we need to reach out to I need to holler at Davey D. You need to get Chuck D at that. That's why he always wears if people, Public Enemy hip hop, like Chuck D wears the Pittsburgh Pirate hat because of Roberto Clemente the Public Enemy thing. But still, you know what I'm saying.
Yes, I do.
There we go. All right, with that being said, peace.
Detroit is different.